All right, wrestling fans, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Shane McKenna of Wrestling Fan himself asked for my opinion on Ronda Rousey and especially, being with WWE now. I think it could go, jury's still out. I don't want to be a pessimist. I don't want to be an overly optimist. I would say that the women, the WWE women wrestlers, superstars, that are on Twitter and so forth, feeling slighted or expressing their doubts or whatever. That's probably half work, half shoot, which is fine. And look, I think, like I've said before, I think Nia Jax should go after Ronda Rousey. I think the Bellas should be pissy about it. I mean, that's emotional involvement. It shouldn't all be, oh, welcome in, girl. Heart, heart emoji. I do say that, you know, controversy's good, and a Nia Jax versus Ronda match could be built up. Looking at Ronda coming into the ring at the Royal Rumble, initially I think I was one of those people um, who kind of felt like, do we really need her now? I mean, I thought it was a pretty good match myself. I mean, some people do, some people don't, but I think the Women's Rumble was a good match. And I thought it was actually a great match. I thought it had a lot of twists, a lot of surprises with the Vicky Guerreros, the Kelly Kellys, Michelle McCool's. Oscar winning was somewhat predictable, but it was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. Trish Stratus held herself very accountable. Lita did well. Lita had that women's the Times Up emblem on her outfit. Um, so there was a lot of stuff in the Royal Rumble to digest, to process, to unpack, I guess is the term of the day. And to throw, the cherry on the top of Ronda Rousey. First of all, it was not me to report this or nothing new, but apparently she's making a film, and so the whole shtick with her even showing up was in order to leave the film set and come to the Rumble at all, even to make that last minute appearance. That's why, in part, the Women's Rumble went last to accommodate Ronda's plane schedule. The other thing was some people wondered why the Men's Rumble went on second or third on the show. Well, that was also so that Nakamura could make his statement about fighting AJ Styles. And why did the world title match go on first on the pay per view? AJ Styles winning. It's because then you had to have that one first, or at least early on the show, so that the Rumble match could happen, and Nakamura could announce that he wants to fight AJ because he knows that AJ had retained, and also a reflection that Nakamura was so impressed, although he didn't say this, with AJ Styles beating two guys, namely Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, that Nakamura wanted to beat the guy that beat two guys. So that there was some psychology there that I don't think people have talked about. That the reason why well, I'll say it again, the men's singles match went first, and then the Rumble went second or third was because it was all building. And the reason why Ronda and the Women's Rumble went on last was so that Ronda could make her airplane ticket. So some of these things that we all questioned, myself included, why the Men's Rumble went on so early, why the World Title match, the Bruno Belt, as I call it, went on so early, it was all explained. As far as just jumping around a little bit, Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. I didn't catch. I mean, I watched the whole match, but for whatever reason, I didn't see. It didn't register me to register to me at the time that they were shooting on each other a little bit or just keeping each other in check. That knee was pretty vicious. Brock has got to have a solid little head there, a big head. I don't like Brock Lesnar. I like Braun Strowman. I'd like to see Braun get the belt from the guy, but I guess that's not going to happen if they're going to insist on Roman Reigns and Brock or whatever. But, Brock wins the match once again and so on and so forth. I mean, he doesn't look as great as he used to. He's looking like Bruiser the Crusher circa 1984 before they lost to the Road Warriors, okay? Moving forth, getting back to the women and Ronda Rousey look, I think I'm trying to imagine, and I've expressed my concerns about Ronda Rousey in the WWE, and people, think I'm crazy, but I don't know if that's the environment for her. And I guess they've worked this out. I guess they've mapped this out. But is she really going to adapt to being a sports entertainer in the Vince McMahon modella? I have my doubts. And why do I have my doubts? Because I think that she still deep down inside, or even on the surface, is a competitive person. I mean, if you watch The Ultimate Fighter when she and Misha Tate, I mean, that's an entertainment show. But you just see that Ronda's very competitive, And if she and Charlotte Flair were to have something like Brock and Braun Strowman, a little moment of give and take, I can't necessarily trust Ronda Rousey. I'm sorry, and people might think, oh, it's wrestling, come on, but I just don't. I mean, things happen in this sport. I mean, Abdullah the Butcher giving people hepatitis C, New Jack slicing people open. Bad things happen, and I think when we trust, or the McMahons want to trust someone who just because they like her and they see dollar signs in Ronda Rousey, I do think that they're kind of putting a little bit too much faith in her. And I think people might say, "Oh, it's wrestling. She's been trained. It's WWE." Well, okay, but in the heart of the lioness, there's still the heart of the lioness, and I think Ronda Rousey still has a bit of a chip on her shoulder. She doesn't like losing to Nunes or Holly Holm, and she never avenged those defeats. As far as the timing, Jim Cornette said this, and others have said this, that it was actually not even them. It was Stephen A. Smith on First Take, because yeah, it did get some full mainstream coverage. It would have been more explosive, made more of an impact if Ronda had come over while still undefeated, still the UFC champion. Um, Now I don't know. It's just she's lost a couple of times. She's damaged goods. It's kind of like if Mike Tyson had gone to be involved in wrestling, not losing to Buster Douglas, and went on that show main event of 1990, I believe. And if Mike Tyson was the referee for the Hogan Savage match, and then fought Hogan at WrestleMania in some hybrid match, that would have been bigger than Tyson losing to fucking Buster Douglas, Tyson losing to Holyfield 8 years later, Tyson going to jail, and then he pops in at WrestleMania 14, and so the American public's very forgiving in the sense that once you're a big name, it seems like the general consciousness doesn't say, oh, Ronda lost a couple of fights. She's not as good as she used to be. It's not 2014 anymore. It's 2018. People just now say, hey, it's Ronda. Oh my God, Ronda. Well, who gives a flying fuck, to be honest with you? And I know the whole deal where you got to give her credit because Ronda Rousey's name and her big profile fights put women's UFC on the map. I'm not taking that away from her, but things move quick. And I think a lot of people, while they admit it or not, and the problem for UFC is they never really had, once Ronda lost the bout to Holly Holm, it just went all over the place to Misha Tate, and then she lost it, and then and then I think even the woman that beat Ronda, I could be wrong on this, but I think she vacated the title. She missed a fight on pay-per-view at the last minute, so if I have that right, I could be wrong. But basically, I'm saying, I just don't know if people give a flying fuck as much as the McMahons think they do. I think that, it is an ESPN SportsCenter moment. It is a thing where Ronda's been, on Sports Illustrated, painted up, and she's been in the movie, Entourage. But it's almost like this is kind of like a half generation of pop culture ago. I mean, this was like 2012, 2014. That's when that song by what's his name was big and famous, and that's when those people were dating. It's like stuff that pop culture moves so fast. It's kind of like if Dennis Rodman came in 2002 Survivor Series and said, "Oh, we got Dennis Rodman." Well, who cares? It's 5 years ago. So I think in Ronda's case, good for her that she got whatever. I'm sure she's getting paid more than most of the other women wrestlers. And I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I just don't see Ronda going in there. But I could be fucking wrong. I'm not putting anything past her. But will she be able to go 20 minutes like Sasha Banks and Asuka just went the other night on Raw? Does she have that in her? I'll see it when I believe it. And I hope that she does have it in her. But I don't see her being I just don't. For whatever reason, I just don't see Ronda Rousey being a long-term thing. I'm not pissing on her. I'm not saying she's a bad person, or I mean, she's obviously a great athlete who's made tons of money, and good for her. And I've flipped through her book, and she came from humble beginnings and really raised herself. So I give her a lot of fucking credit. But I just don't see this happening. If you look at her in the ring with that pose down, the way she was the way that she, just like from even wrestling 101 standpoint, to give a shout out to Justin Credible and good luck with him and his voyages with his film, documentary, and so forth. But the way that she pointed that WrestleMania sign, it was like she was very aware of the hard camera. She was very aware of planting her feet and making an expression. Um, it was just very kind of phony to me, and just I would have liked to have seen. I guess Asuka did her part, slapping her hand. It seemed like Alexa Bliss was just not even there, really. But I mean, it seemed like Charlotte, you know, she really kind of missed an opportunity, I think, and I'm sure that they were told what to do and what not to do. But I would have liked to have seen Charlotte kind of get in their face a little bit, get in their grill. I think some of these, and McMahon said this himself on that Stone Cold podcast, that some of these millennial wrestlers need to really step up and just, if they have an opportunity, even if they get yelled at by Vince himself, and but I think Charlotte could have just gotten in her grill a little bit. I think maybe Asuka slapping the hand a little bit away from her was nice. Alexa Bliss, I think the funny thing is that Ronda could literally beat Alexa Bliss in 30 seconds or a minute, make her tap out to an armbar or something. And I don't think people would care against Alexa Bliss. I think, like, that would almost work for Alexa to lose very quickly to Ronda, because, Alexa gets by on swarminess and mic work and being gorgeous and cute and everything and short. So I think, like, if Ronda were to, and I'm not putting her down, obviously, I'm just saying that the character of Alexa Bliss has a different appeal. If Ronda were to beat Alexa in 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes, and then, maybe take some cheap shots or liberties on her, and then Nia Jax comes out to defend her friend Alexa, that could be a good storyline. So I'm just kind of freewheeling like Bob Dylan here, Mike Messier. Just for the wrestling fans who are up late at night. And look, some people say, Mike, these are great videos. We love your conversational style. Some people say, fuck you, Mike, and fuck your opinions. And people don't even want to watch these videos sometimes. And to me, it's fine. It's all good. There's no... If you want to watch these videos, if you enjoy them, great. If you are a person that's watching this but you hate it, that's even better. Because for whatever reason, there's some kernel of truth, there's some grain of knowledge that I'm passing on to you, that you're putting into your own computer brain perspective of the world, and that's it. So these are my thoughts on Ronda Rousey. It was a requested video from wrestling fans, the administration over there, and all the groups on all the Facebook worlds and all the Twitter people I associate with, or if they happen to watch this, if you're watching this, whoever you might be, thanks for watching it. But really, what am I about, Mike Messier? It's, watch the short films, the Messier mantra, Mike interviews celebrities. There's other things on this YouTube world of mine, as I just spat, to watch. You don't just have to watch me talk about wrestling. I have life rants. Some of those are more popular than others. The MILF one's pretty good. There's some good ones on here. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. Most of my stuff has an edge to it. It has a hardness to it. I'm in cold New England. It's cold here most of the time, or it's hot. So we don't have a lot of in between. So you can see my temperatures flare. Disregard the Vampire, MikeMessier.com, all the wonderful things you see on my website, and all this stuff on YouTube. So if you're watching, enjoy it. I don't know if I had anything else to say about the Ronda thing. It's just, I guess when I was looking at those four women, Charlotte, Asuka, Ronda, and Alexa, to be honest with you, the matchups that really came to me were like Charlotte versus Asuka and Alexa versus Ronda. Because it seemed like, if you really looked at Ronda's physique, and I know she's a hard ass and in great shape and everything, but she really didn't look like... She looked like she and Alexa would have a good physical matchup, at least initially. Ronda didn't seem... she was swimming in Roddy's jacket. Now, look, obviously, it's a very emotional thing, and I give her a lot of credit, for taking on the Roddy Piper name. Roddy Piper, who means a lot to wrestling fans. So I give her extreme credit for that. And Roddy's son, I believe his name is Colt, who I've actually seen in person. I saw Roddy basically about a year before he passed away. Roddy came to Top Rope Promotions in Fall River. It was Roddy Piper, his son Colt, I believe. And Colt had a match. Roddy was in the corner, talked to Roddy for a few moments. So to see, and he was probably wearing that jacket. I think he was. So to see Roddy's jacket, and it was a thing where a lot of fans put two and two together very quickly. That she had the font of Ronda Rousey, the font of Hot Rod Rowdy Piper, and she had this jacket that she was kind of swimming in, and it looked like a Piper jacket. So I think a lot of people like myself got it right away, and that is a passing of the torch. Now that being said, is Ronda Rousey going to have the stick work, the mic work? She might. Hey, look, she cut a promo on Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, about abusing women before the ESPYs. If you ever seen that, just look. Ronda Rousey ESPYs calls out Floyd Mayweather, where Ronda was given an award for or nominated for an award. She won, I believe, of Athlete of the Year, and she said, "Hey, this is." She said something to the effect of, "Hey, Floyd, how's it feel to have a woman beat you for a change?" or something like that. So she was making references to Floyd Mayweather's women abusing scandals and allegations in prison time. So I mean, she can be tough. So I mean, maybe I'm not giving Ronda enough credit, because anyone can surprise you. I mean, we got the big Super Bowl coming up in a couple of days. 36 hours from now, and I'm picking New England 24-21, and some are saying that Philadelphia is going to win. And if Philadelphia wins, I'm not going to cry or jump out that window, because the bottom line is this: anything can fucking happen. That's why we play the games. So Ronda Rousey could very well surprise me. She could be the fucking biggest fucking thing ever in women's wrestling, and I will gladly apologize. I will gladly shake her hand if the moment arises, if I were to ever meet her. And I think she's. I mean, I have a film script that Ronda Rousey could star in. I've had it for a couple of years, and I've been trying to get it to her. So I mean, I have a lot of respect for Ronda Rousey. For whatever reason, there's a blockage in my mind seeing her excel, as a Sasha Banks type of athlete, going 20, 30 minutes. I, but that's why we watch. That's why we fucking watch, right? We want to see what happens. So even if she fails, even if she's not this great women's wrestler, she has an emotional breakdown or whatever, she's got us hooked. She's got us hooked. And whatever amount of money she's getting, she's earned that money. In the McMahons, they see something in her. They see that it works for them, or it can work for them, and she's going to be a big star. We'll see what the fuck happens. But I think they do have a support team, not a support team. I hate, you catch yourself saying these things. But they have I want to say, a talent base of wrestlers now on that roster. 30 women, and yeah, some of them, 10 or 12 of them, were kind of hooked in from the alumni page. But I did like the Women's Rumble in that they brought back women from the past, at least for this initial Rumble, and not, scoop up all the talent, the Peyton Royces and all the other women from NXT, because I feel like if you would put all those girls in the Royal Rumble, a lot of fans wouldn't know who they were, because a lot of fans don't watch NXT. I'm sorry, and B, a whole year would go by, and these, aging divas, the Kelly Kellys, the Tori Wilsons, these ladies that are still gorgeous, trust me. But a year would pass, and you don't know if they would have a kid. I mean, or they'd be not in as good a shape. So, I mean, these women who came back now, and I'd like to see next year, I'd like to see Medusa back. I mean, she's going to be pushing, 53, 54. I have no problem seeing Medusa next year in this Women's Rumble. No problem. Geez, I was about to say Sherry Martel, but obviously she passed away. I had a Sherry Martel action figure that was hanging out with today. It was in my car, the Sherry Martel action figure, great action figure. So, Sherry Martel, I mean, just to say that, I'd love to see her, obviously, but she's not with us anymore. So, I mean, why not have some of these divas from the past, women wrestlers from the past, come back for the first Rumble? I have no problem with that. I really enjoyed that. And I think people who, I don't know what the fuck they wanted. I mean, you got a 30-woman Rumble. I was wrong. I thought it was a 2-minute entry, and I thought they were giving us Titan time, as Bruce Pritchard explained on his Royal Rumble 1988 podcast with Conrad Thompson, what Titan Tower is, how they just kind of arbitrarily did the clock, starting with the 88 Rumble. I would, shout outs or so forth. Look, some people like them, some people don't, but I really like the Bruce Pritchard Conrad podcast. And this 1988 Royal Rumble podcast was very informative. Tonight I listened to the WrestleMania 13 podcast. And look, a lot of times you listen to those podcasts and you either like those guys or you don't, but I do. And it's just the humor, the comedy, the shtick. Bruce Pritchard does a lot of funny voices. Some people might say it's all bullshit. Um, but, it's fucking, we're watching wrestling. We're wrestling fans. We're supposed to enjoy bullshit at some point. So I don't know if I was going to make any other big fucking statement. I guess I was just saying that for whatever reason, I would actually like to see a Ronda Rousey fucking Alexa Bliss match. If Ronda popped into the Elimination Chamber as a surprise number 6 entrant, could they do that? I mean, she's supposed to be in the fucking pod. Um, oh, okay, I'll talk about the Women's Royal fucking Elimination Chamber, although that could be another video. I'm not particularly looking forward to it, and I'll tell you why. It's because Elimination Chambers, if they're going to do them, which they are, and I don't even know why they do them anymore, there should be a chance at least for blood. Yeah, forehead blood, okay? People juicing, people bleeding. We don't particularly want to see our beautiful women wrestlers, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Bayley even. We don't want to see them bleed, okay? And I don't want to see Sasha Banks juice or cut her forehead because that doesn't appeal to me. I mean, I'm sorry. I just, women's live, women's power, girl power, I'm all for everything, but not to the extent that I want to see these, beautiful women wrestlers cut themselves open. Call me crazy. And to have it a women's elimination chamber is kind of a contrast because it's supposed to be this barbaric structure of death and destruction. And now we're going to put our women athletes in it, or their women athletes in it, meaning WWE. To me, we're crossing the line here. I mean, for the Sasha Banks, Charlotte Hell in the Cell a couple of years ago in Boston, I didn't, I'll be honest, I haven't watched that whole match, but from what I understand, a friend of mine went to it live. He said it was a clusterfuck. They didn't break the tables they were trying to go through. Nobody bled. They didn't do any crazy spots. So I'm not saying not to do it. I just think like now we're just trying to shoehorn these women into everything. Is this headed to ... main event at WrestleMania this year, 2018, first ever women's main event at the fucking WrestleMania? And what does main event mean? Does it mean they have to close the show? I guess so. I would not be offended if they find that they want to push this and make it Ronda Rousey main event, meaning the last match on the show, if that's what we can all agree on, and sometimes we can, sometimes we can't about what the main event is, but if that's what it's coming to, I'm not particularly opposed to it. I just don't think you need to have a women's elimination chamber. And I feel like, I bet they're going to do something that's actually pretty good. I mean, I just feel that the elimination chamber has that expectation, at least for me, of having the chance of blood. Forehead fucking wrestler blood. 1988, okay? I'm sorry. So I'm just thinking, with you, I don't want to see Alexa Bliss bleed or get her face mashed into a cage. I don't want to see Natalya or Sasha, or I just don't. It's just not in me that these, I don't say beautiful. Just what I think. I think they're all very attractive and they're all very nice people from, not that I know them, but I just say, like, I think that there's no reason for Nia Jax to take, Bayley and scrape her head against the fucking cage or the bumps on that fucking unforgiving chamber. For me, I don't think that's entertainment. I think it'll be a spectacle, but I think that it's just something we don't need, or I don't need to see it. I mean, I'll still watch it. And I'll say this, they'll probably do a hell of a good match. But I think when, it's kind of like UFC. I was talking to, the same guy on the Wrestling Fans saying, I don't particularly, when I watch women's UFC, I watched that Ultimate Fighter with Ronda and Misha as the fucking coaches, and then one of them that wasn't even a winner went on to be like, there was one that was like Felice, or I don't think it was Paige Van Zandt, but one of them, I thought her name was Z or something, but she went on to, she was a model, UFC fighter, and then she had a UFC match on like a fight night, and she was getting her fucking ass kicked, like her face was getting bloodied and beat up, and it was like there was just enough damage where she wasn't going to win the fight by decision. The other girl couldn't finish her off, or a woman couldn't finish her off, and the referee didn't want to stop it because she was still kind of in the fight. But I'm like, can we just, like, she's going to lose her modeling contract. That's what I'm thinking. Like, this is a very attractive woman, and she's getting permanently disfigured here from the punches to her face. And they didn't stop the fight, and she looked like hell after. She looked, not as bad as CM Punk when he fought. But my point is, women's fight sports have the downside, and just think about it a little bit of, we're watching women get physically abused. And so whether it's another woman doing that, or an intergender wrestling match, or a UFC where it is, yes, it's woman on woman, there is an element that's kind of like, oh, this is great. They can do this. They can have a competitive athletic thing just as good as the men, and Ronda Rousey's a big star. But at the end of the day, we're watching women beat the shit out of each other. And to me, at least, it's a mixed bag thing. It's just you catch yourself like, oh, wow, like this woman's face is getting permanently abused. Now, look, guys, hockey players and every other sport that has men, boxing, obviously, cauliflower ears and everything else. You can say the same thing about men if you want, but call me old-fashioned, it's a little bit different for whatever the fuck reason. So, anyway, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, we've covered a lot of topics, or I have, if you've watched this whole video. Glory be to yourself.